Call of Duty Zombies. That may be something you haven't heard much of in the last few years, but I'm sure many of us can think back to a time where it made up a big part of our gaming experience. I want you right now to try and think back to the very first time you played Zombies. Was that at a friend's house or maybe your own? Maybe you played Transit and rode around through the fog on a bus with some weird robot guy. Maybe it was on Black Ops 3 with Shadows of Evil, the beautiful city filled with Cthulhu monsters. Maybe it was Kino der Toten, the old classic theater map from Black Ops 1. Or maybe, just maybe, it was that little tiny bunker from World at War which started it all. Nacht der Toten. See, it doesn't really matter when you started playing Zombies, because I think we can all look back quite fondly on the feeling of that first game, spawning into a map and feeling so vulnerable yet intrigued. You would die on an embarrassingly low round, but you would just be so instantly hooked like you can't ever remember being hooked before. Discovering the ray gun, acquiring perks, and hitting your first Pack-a-Punch machine. It was a game that drew you in and made you fall in love with it. And whether your playtime consisted of ripping casual games with your friends after school or pulling all-nighters trying to get to a new high round, it's safe to say that Zombies holds a special place in a lot of our hearts. So, what the hell happened to this game? And that's exactly what I want to talk about today. The fall of Call of Duty Zombies. How one of the most iconic video game modes of our childhood and teenage years slowly faded into a hot flaming pile of garbage. I want to talk about when the game started going wrong, what caused the game's decline, and most importantly, which was I think the final nail in the coffin, Black Ops 4. Black Ops 4 is the obvious target as to what really killed off Zombies, but I assure you that there is more to it than just a single bad game. Long before the creation of Black Ops 4, Activision had already sowed the seeds for the demise of our beloved series. If we want to understand the fall of Zombies, we need to look back to what made it great in the first place. And to do that, we need to go all the way back to Nacht der Toten. Because you see, Zombies was a game that started from creative passion. Now, many of you may not know this, but Zombies was actually a side project by a team of developers that was never even supposed to make it into World at War. It was just something the team was working on for fun. The studio head, Mark Lamia, had even considered stopping the project as it was being a potential waste of time, diverting energy from the main game modes. Ultimately, though, in a fateful and highly intelligent decision, he didn't.
Fortunately, I calmed down just enough.
And you want to know why? It's because the game mode was freaking awesome.
It was clear the excitement around the studio was totally infectious. And this is where we made the very risky, but ultimately the right choice to follow the fun, follow the passion, and bet on a dedicated and talented team.
According to interviews, all the workers and developers at Treyarch who played the original build absolutely loved it.
We started having people from Activision's production management team, and as the infection spread, the organization, one person at a time, even people not on the Call of Duty, working on Call of Duty, were asking to see it.
It was engaging and just so unique that in the end, it got put into the game as a bonus mode for beating the campaign. From a developmental standpoint, it's a miracle that Zombies ever even happened, but is also a testament to how incredible the game mode was. And I think that this is a super overlooked fact as to why the game mode became so successful in the first place. Zombies started as a side passion project on the engine of a much bigger game. There was no pressure from a group of suits sitting in a boardroom asking what will be the most profitable way to boost map pack sales or anything like that. No, it all just simply started for fun. It was a side project that was allowed to blossom organically. And remember that, because that is a key detail that will help highlight exactly where it was that Zombies went wrong. But now, let's get back on track with our storyline. World at War Zombies continued on the success of its original map, eventually dropping 3 map packs, which included Verrückt, Shinonuma, and the fan favorite Riese. This also saw the introduction of our 4 iconic heroes: Tank Dempsey, Nikolai Belinsky, Edward Richthofen, and Takeo Masaki. Overall, for something that started from such humble beginnings, Zombies was already turning into a huge success. The fanbase was small, but it certainly had a lot of room to grow with. So Black Ops 1 released November 9th of 2010, and with it we were given a brand new Zombies experience, Kino der Toten. While similar in quality to the Riese, being the on-disc game put millions of new eyes onto this incredible game mode, helping to only further increase the love. This also marked the beginning of the Call of Duty Zombies community, as YouTubers like the Syndicate Project and Yoteslaya started making dedicated channels around the game. Black Ops 1 saw 4 new maps introduced and a look into what seemed to be an actual storyline for the game mode. Ascension, Call of the Dead, and Shangrila had quest-styled Easter eggs which would allow fans to go deeper than ever before into the game and enrich themselves in the storyline. There was so much mystery behind the game that was being developed alongside community theories that made the game even more rich than ever before. And with the destruction of the Earth in Black Ops 1's finale Moon, the game was at an all-time high. Not only was it a fantastic game mode, but the storyline was turning into something completely gripping. So Black Ops 2 Zombies would release a year after Moon on November 12th of 2012. And just when the hype seemed like it couldn't get any bigger, it did. Black Ops 2 dropped with a titanic splash, releasing one of the most exciting, albeit controversial maps of all time, Transit.
Welcome aboard. Please have a seat. Thank you for choosing Consolidated Coach Corporation Bus Lines.
While this map has been prone to criticism, at the time both hardcore and casual fans rejoiced. As we had to wait a year between maps, the community was just hungry for anything. It is worth noting though that Black Ops 2 did almost go off the rails. The news story was awkward, a little bit thrust in, and had less intriguing characters than Black Ops 1. The general thirst for new Zombies content, however, did help to ease this issue. Now with the release of the second DLC, Mob of the Dead, it introduced another separate storyline to make things even a little bit more confusing. However, fortunately, the strong gameplay made up for any sort of issues that the fans had. The true redemption of Black Ops 2 came with their final map, however, Origins. Arguably the greatest, arguably? As the greatest Zombies map of all time, this was the setup map for Black Ops 3, and included alternate dimensional timeline versions of the characters we had met and fallen in love with from World at War. As something more exciting, ambitious, and storyline driven than any Zombies map ever, Origins allowed Black Ops 2 Zombies to end both with a bang, but also left a deep desire for more. And then, the community had to wait another 2 years. Call of Duty was moving from a 2-year development cycle to 3, and we had to go through Call of Duty Ghosts and Advanced Warfare before we could get to the next Treyarch game. But Activision had recognized that the Call of Duty community really liked side modes and decided, hey, we should make more of these. And this, in my opinion, is where Activision doomed Zombies. Because this is where it stopped being just a side passion project game mode and turned into map packs with zombie maps sell way better than multiplayer maps only, so let's just make a whole bunch of new game modes and jack up them profits. So Call of Duty Ghosts was first up to bat, and they dropped a brand new game mode called Extinction. It was a gigantic flop. And that's coming from someone who liked it.
It is a really, really cool game mode, like I said. It's very neat to play.
The storyline was garbage, it had uninteresting characters, and despite me playing the game for probably over 100 hours, I still don't even really know what happened. And on top of that, the gameplay was mediocre at best. But lastly, and I think this is important to note, is the community was just a little exhausted from that last year of Zombies. This new game mode was just unable to spark and take flame like those original maps did in World at War. So after the pretty big failure of Ghosts, Advanced Warfare dropped Exo-Zombies. Now, I'm sure that there are some people out there who liked Exo-Zombies, but I gotta say it again, compared to any Zombies map previously, Exos also flopped. The game had uninteresting characters and the storyline was completely forced down our throats. The gameplay felt like a cookie-cutter version of what Treyarch was doing, and it didn't even feature a zombies map on disc. Compare these two game modes to World at War, which allowed the storyline to build itself in an organic and natural way. With these other two clones though, it felt like they had just taken the zombies format that had now found success and were now trying to mass produce it. And this highlights so clearly how Activision missed the point of what zombies was. It wasn't something that could be rushed or forced, and the storyline that they had found was something extremely delicate and special. So after 2 years of what was basically the hardcore fans tolerating these new maps and the casuals not even really knowing what was going on, Black Ops 3 was finally back to the plate, and Black Ops 3 Zombies struck its 4th home run in a row. With the power of the new console, this only further expanded and immersed us into the Zombies experience. The gameplay was more insane and rewarding than ever. Furthermore, the Zombies community on YouTube was bigger than ever before, and this only helped to drive the hype train. We were given some new characters, but they were related and building off of our original storyline, so we were automatically and already invested. Black Ops 3 told us a grand and epic story, and despite it having an ending that was controversial, we were given one that was satisfying, that left the door open for more, much more. And then, for the 5th year in a row, hardly a month after the end of Revelations, a new Zombies map dropped. You start to see a problem here? Infinity Ward was back with another Zombies remake. This time, Infinite Warfare.
They just opened fire. We're f***ing fire. Data's guns are attacking our airship.
This is a full-blown invasion.
Oh my god.
So, despite general positive reception from the first map, I think it's safe to say that at this point, the community was getting a little bit tired. Despite Zombies in Spaceland being a great map, the thirst that had once driven the community was now relatively satiated. Unfortunately, Activision had more to give us. In total, we would be given 5 maps from the Infinite Warfare Zombie storyline, each being received with less enthusiasm than the last. But in the spring of that year's cycle, something weird happened. We got Zombies Chronicles, an entire Zombies DLC. So were we tired of zombies? Well, this actually confirmed that was maybe partially at least not the case. Zombies Chronicles featured 8 Zombies remakes and was the best-selling add-on in the PlayStation Store of 2017. So clearly, the Zombies community was not dead, they were just sick of all the non-Treyarch stuff. But moving on from here, fall came, and for the 6th year in a row, we got a new game mode, World War II Zombies. Now, I probably don't need to keep repeating myself, but as you may have guessed, this non-Treyarch game mode was another flop. Actually, by far the biggest flop for any side game mode yet. It really just seemed like no studio could hit the nail on the head quite like Treyarch. Now quickly, before we get into Black Ops 4, I do need to do a recap of all this. So in summary, Treyarch Zombies was built slowly, methodically, and originated out of passion. The gameplay and characters evolved with us. New perks and weapons were slowly added in and evolved over the years. Character development and storyline was not thrown in our faces, but was left to kindle and burn for our theories to discover things. Even the difficulty of acquiring wonder weapons advanced with us, from simply getting lucky at a box to challenging multi-part step processes. In a nutshell, it did exactly what it should have done. It evolved by expanding on what we like to stay fresh while remaining relatable to our past experiences by keeping all the features that we knew zombies to love. It evolved with its community. But on the other hand, all the Zombies clones that we saw simply tried to build off of what Treyarch had done. See, it feels like Activision assumed that they could get the other studios to just make a new game with the features of Zombies, and because it followed that model, it would be a success. See, they failed to understand what made Zombies Zombies in the first place. That amazing ambiance, incredible gameplay, unyielding creativity, one kick-ass storyline, and again, a whole lot of passion. See, it was not something that could simply be mass produced. Treyarch Zombies just had an X factor, and nothing could match it. And so here we are at Black Ops 4. The reason I wanted to go through all of this was to highlight how not to make a zombies game and to convey that this is exactly what they did with Black Ops 4. And just as a quick side note for all you people sitting there thinking like, hey, I really loved some of the non-Treyarch Zombies maps, that's actually totally fine. So did I, to be completely honest. But my point is just that every Treyarch Zombies map game was monumentally larger and more popular as a whole. Certainly there were some diamonds in the rough, but as a whole, I think there's no denying just how much bigger Treyarch Zombies was compared to any other game. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, now I want to talk about the grand failure that is the Black Ops 4 launch. Now, this failure can be broken down into three main issues: bad gameplay, bad storyline, and not enough love from Activision. First, let's talk gameplay. So gameplay is the first thing any player will experience with your game. And because of this, it's the most important. It doesn't matter if the story is good if the game isn't fun. And unfortunately, for the first time ever, Treyarch released a set of 4 zombies maps which all felt subpar. They felt like a step backwards. I'm not even saying that Black Ops 4 felt like a clone of Black Ops 3. This game actually felt like it was a step down from its predecessor. Black Ops 4 graphics were inferior. The lighting, setting, and overall quality in most cases felt no better, if not worse, than Black Ops 3. But still though, I mean, the community could have gotten over graphics if everything else was good. Unfortunately, that was not the case. Another big issue was just the engine itself. Things again felt worse or no better than Black Ops 3. At times, the game felt clunky and far from smooth. But most importantly and vitally was that the core gameplay had been stripped and replaced with a hollow version of what it once was. Juggernog, the most iconic perk in Zombies history, was removed and replaced with an armor system. This made it so you automatically spawn in with basically Jug, but you could never buy a perk to increase it from there. Perks like Speed Cola, Double Tap, Headshot, and some other fan favorites were removed as well. Perks that managed to stay in the game like Stamina, Mule Kick, Electric Cherry, and Quick Revive had been weirdly altered. Quick Revive, most notably, now only res teammates faster, but in solo you would simply auto-spawn with 3 revives, as compared to the traditional system of needing to purchase the perk every time you down. But furthermore, the perks that were added in to take place of our old favorites like Bandolier Bandit and Death Perception simply felt uninteresting and useless. Perks no longer felt crucial and rewarding, but rather just a slight increase from your kit. Also, remember the specialist type weapons you used to be able to hunt for in Black Ops 3? Talking the Apothecary Sword, the Ragnarok DG4s, and oh, I don't know, the baby dragon on your arm from Gorod Krovi that would just kill everything? Well, those would simply be spawned in with now. And this is a general critique that I think you see a lot of with Black Ops 4. The old Zombies games usually had a very big progression from spawning in on round 1 being this scared guy with nothing but a Colt to round 30 being this 115 imbued god with all sorts of insane weapons. But now it felt like when you spawned into a map you were already halfway kitted up. You had Jug, Quick Revive, your specialist weapon, and that progression from nothing to everything was severely diminished. It just felt completely foreign to what Treyarch Zombies was all about. It felt like someone else had made it. Oh, no, wait, this feels familiar, like something else. But at the end of the day, what Treyarch had tried to do to improve gameplay clearly failed. Now, there was obviously an attempt made, but it simply did not work. Minding my example here, it felt like they tried to improve Zombies like how you would renovate a kitchen. They gutted all the appliances and interior with the intent of a complete overhaul and remodel, but then ran out of budget halfway through. They then had to chuck all the appliances back into the unfinished kitchen with no walls or tile on the floor. So sure, it was still a kitchen, but it wasn't pleasant to be in, and again felt extremely reminiscent of all those other failed Zombie spin-offs. But we do have more than just gameplay. So next, let's talk storyline. So Black Ops 4 released with 4 maps on disc, their most ambitious set of zombie maps ever. Voyage of Despair and IX, or 9, were the 2 new maps in what was the new story called the Chaos storyline. It featured new characters and was explicitly unrelated to the storyline we had fallen in love with over the last 9 years. Like, seriously, it was not even in the same multiverse. What? Players were dumped into a new storyline with very little context of what was going on or reason to care. The characters weren't as fun, and we obviously couldn't love them like we loved those we had been with for so long. Oh, no. We've done this before. We've been here before. Now, fortunately, there were 2 other maps that launched with the game. Classified was a remake of the old presidential map 5 from Black Ops 1, and Blood of the Dead was the other Ether map and was a remake of fan favorite Mob of the Dead. While gameplay was questionable here, to be honest, the storyline actually felt like it had potential. The big problem with Blood of the Dead was that it wasn't made clear to be the main storyline for the game, so it really only further confused the community. Are we supposed to care more about Blood or this new Chaos crew? See, Blood was a bonus remake, so it wasn't assumed to be part of the main story. The problem was that this was the story we were actually interested to hear more of. It's actually funny because this is similar to what happened at the start of Black Ops 2, if you recall. There were new, less interesting storylines introduced, which saw less traction than the previous storylines. The problem here was that the storyline wasn't even in our multiverse, unlike Black Ops 2, which at least all took place in the same one, but just different timelines. See, Black Ops 2 managed to save itself, but Black Ops 4 would not be so lucky. Dropping 4 maps at the exact same time completely split the community and only managed to confuse the fan base. But the last thing that killed not only the launch, but basically the entire game was just the lack of support from Activision. Now, Activision, I honestly hate to blame you. It feels like such a cop-out to sit here and be like, oh, big greedy company, yeah. But it is most definitely your fault when I say that Black Ops 4 was done incredibly dirty. On launch day, Zombies wasn't even finished. Games would crash at rounds 20, 15, and sometimes even round 5, making it near unplayable for anyone trying to have a good time. And let's not even get into the fact that Classified, the Easter egg for that involved getting to past round 100. So basically that map was unbeatable at launch. Overall, just from a developmental standpoint, this game was not ready to launch in October. You completely screwed over your fans and player base when you chose to release it a month early to compete with Red Dead Redemption 2. The game was an absolute mess from the start, and this put a very sour taste in a lot of fans' mouths. It was clear that the priority was not about making a polished experience, but rather driving sales and competing with another game. But furthermore, the choice to create 4 maps on launch was just retrospectively a bad one. Now, this may fall on Treyarch's lap as well, but regardless, it was a mistake. This diverted resources away from making one good product and left us with 4 mediocre ones. I think I stand for everyone when I say I would rather one polished zombie map like Shadows over 4 low-quality ones like what we were given. Especially when you realize that 9, despite still being great, had way more potential. Literally just place 9 into Black Ops 3 and you've got a map that fits in the top 10 of all time. But what's even worse is things only continued on this trend as Zombies hardly received any updates over the weeks and months to follow. It was clear that Zombies was going to get very little support over its life cycle. Okay, but you know what is absolutely insane? Fucking crazy. Despite all of this, the Black Ops 4 launch was a huge success. Multiple of my zombie YouTubers have said it was one of their most successful months for views in their entire careers. The problem was not lack of interest. The problem was, however, that as soon as the Easter eggs were finished and the storyline was resolved up into that point, everything took a nosedive, which is something we've never seen before. Usually there are dips between DLC, but as soon as the community realized how underwhelming the game was, everybody stopped caring. So what this shows us is that it simply wasn't just a shift in trends away from Call of Duty. Sure, there were other big games like Red Dead and Fortnite on the market, but the zombies community did what it always did and rallied hard. Treyarch and Activision just failed to deliver. And so, because the Chaos storyline failed to capture or interest 90% of the zombies community from the beginning, this would doom the next 2 DLC follow-up maps from the start. The next 2 maps, Dead of Night and Ancient Evil, which I'm not even really going to get into, both received very little recognition or praise from the community. To make a long story short, the Chaos storyline flopped, and it ended with DLC 2. But you know what is again fucking insane? Black Ops 4 Zombies rebounded again.
What is the next phase of our journey?
I wish I could forewarn you of what is to come and what is at stake.
Alpha Omega DLC 3 was dropped as a new installment and saw massive interest from the community on launch date. Noah J456 streamed the map with over 50,000 live concurrent viewers. Those numbers had not been seen since Black Ops 4 launch day. And before that, those numbers hadn't been seen since Revelations, for God's sakes. And do you know why? Because it was part of the Ether storyline. The community wanted more. They wanted a conclusion that they had been told they would get. Once again, though, they were disappointed. See, as soon as the Easter egg was completed, views and interest shriveled up. And this was flat out because Alpha Omega was a lazy map with a lot of the same issues we saw on launch date. See, the community was willing to give it a chance because it was Treyarch and because it was our normal crew, but they just quickly realized that it was another boring pile of poo-poo. The map was a Nuketown Zombies remake that used assets from Blackout. And this is something that hadn't been done so hard since the days of World at War. I mean, it's common to take some assets, but this was literally just porting over the Blackout into this new game. But it got even worse than that. There were no new wonder weapons, but instead elemental raygun Mark IIs, and the intro and outro cutscenes weren't even animated. Compared to Treyarch's last work, the map as a whole was lackluster, and it showed. So interest quickly fell off and again would not resurface until DLC 4. And there we were, staring into the release of Tag der Toten, the final zombies map for a storyline that goes back more than 10 years for some of us. As the final map to this story, this had fans emotionally invested, which again says a lot about how much this community cares. For myself, I had stopped caring a long time ago, but even I, the Fortnite sellout, still wanted to give my old favorite game mode a chance. Which, if you think about it, really says a lot about this community. Not only had it been dicked over for an entire year by Black Ops 4, it had been 3 years since they saw a true new zombies map. But no matter how many garbage maps that they had waded through, no matter how many boring storylines or uninteresting characters, the community was back. They rallied and came out for one final hurrah to say goodbye to the end of an era. And oh my sweet lord, once again, we were fooled. Because Tag der Toten, for the who knows and who is counting at this point in time, was a gigantic flop.
Okay, yeah, so we gotta get to the zip line. We gotta the zip line. Here it is. What? Run that back! Run that back immediately!
So first and most importantly, we need to note that the map was a remake. This marked the 5th remake since the last original Zombies Ether map, which was Gorod Krovi, released all the way back on July 12th of 2016. Furthermore, the map featured not our beloved Primus crew or even Ultimus crew of Dempsey, Richtoff, and Takeo or Nikolai, but instead the Transit crew. Probably the worst received Treyarch foursome, apart from, ironically, the Chaos crew. Like, seriously, not even one more map with our old pals? But the flaws go on. The map once again featured very little innovation. The Wonder Weapon was just an inferior remake of the Thunder Gun. The map had both reused assets from 10 years ago and again, Blackout. The Easter egg had tedious and boring steps. It didn't even have a final boss fight. Overall, the map was just a complete recycle of previous zombie maps. And then, to top things off, we have salt on the wound. We have the ending cutscene, which I would like to call, how do we wrap this shit up as fast and as easy as possible while somehow managing to make a semblance of a proper end? So first and foremost, again, it's a slideshow ending. The ending to the entire zombie storyline isn't even animated, but essentially this is what happens. We see all our fan favorites sitting around a campfire, getting drunk and passing out. Zombie Richtofen, which is a nice asset reused for Black Ops 3, convinces the transit crew to go to Call of the Dead and assemble an Agarthan device. After Victus completes the task, it is then revealed to us that Primus Nikolai poisoned everyone because the only way for this to end is for them to all die. Accepting that they could never beat the Apothecans, he uses the Agarthan device to destroy the corrupted multiverse, effectively removing the Apothecans, Shadow Man, and Dr. Monty from existence, but also everything else corrupted within those realms as well. He then kills Richtofen and has Samantha shoot him. With every main character eliminated, this breaks the cycle, stopping it from ever being able to happen again, which means that none of this terrible stuff ever happens. The cycle has been completed, and the innocent Sam and Eddie walk off into a safe, uncorrupted, singular universe. So, yeah, there is definitely a lot to be disappointed with this ending. To me, it felt lazy and unsatisfying. Now, on paper, it does sound like a classic good guy ending. Our heroes made a noble sacrifice to save the realms. But to me, it just didn't feel earned. But instead, it kind of felt like a cheap way out. Like, I get the message that is trying to be conveyed here, and I think it makes a lot of sense for zombies. It just wasn't executed properly. Now, perhaps if they had done a full Ether game, expanding on things, showing us Dr. Monty, the Shadow Man, the Great War, and all the awfulness that came with it, we would have had something very compelling. But since they rushed everything, it just felt like an easy way to wrap everything up. The heroes can't win, so they just erase everything. So it happened, but it also sort of didn't, and it doesn't exist anymore and it's gone. But hey, 2 innocents made it out, right? Well, what about all the other billions of people who weren't saved? Because we have to remember that all those people that we have killed over the last 10 years are just normal, everyday humans that have been infected with Element 115. All those people are gone. And while Samantha and Eddie survived, many didn't. So I think it's fair to say that a lot of fans have a pretty bad taste left in their mouth. Overall, Black Ops 4 was a pretty big failure and was unable to leave us with a satisfying ending. An oversaturation of creating non-Treyarch maps contributed to a burnout for the community. And when we were finally given Black Ops 4, the new storyline failed to interest us, and many fans were upset with the conclusion of the one they knew and loved. Black Ops 4 was simply not given enough resources, funding, or attention. Because of this, it ended up feeling more like a hollow clone copy, just like all the other non-Treyarch zombie modes we have seen in the past years, instead of a true Treyarch Zombies mode. Clearly, Activision didn't learn from all those past failed game modes. You see, you just can't skimp on zombies. It's sort of an all or nothing game mode. And if you try to cheap out and make a sort of cookie cutter version of it, it's probably for the best that you just don't even try at all. And with slideshow cutscenes and no original map, this just goes to show how clearly Black Ops 4 Zombies was underfunded. Honestly, I feel like Black Ops 4 Zombies wasn't even given a chance. It was doomed from the start, and not due to a lack of passion from Treyarch, but rather a lack of attention from Activision, the publisher. And while I know, listen, at the end of the day, it's business and it all comes down to numbers and whatever. I don't want to sit here and blame big corporations. There's no denying that I think a lot of Zombies fans feel ripped off. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the devs feel that way too. So yeah, It's sad. It's sad that it had to end like this. It's sad that it had to end like this when we knew how good Black Ops 3 was, and due to just simply Treyarch's track record, how good Black Ops 4 could have been. But unfortunately, it was a game mode doomed from the start. But I do have a final message to all you guys who have made it through, and I promise you it's a positive one. The zombies that we knew and loved may not have ended it how we wanted it to, but that's okay. Kind of like Nikolai said in the outro, it may be done and not exist anymore, but that doesn't mean it never happened. We still have those fond memories that will never be gone. Those fond memories of playing at our friend's house or running home quick after school or playing all night long. We can still look back fondly on the first time we pulled the ray gun from the box, pack-a-punched, or made it to round 30. We can remember the first time we stayed up late to play a new map, which resulted in us maybe skipping school the following day. We can remember all those incredible zombies experiences. Or what about the 2 Easter eggs for charities, where the zombies community raised over $300,000 for sick kids? Oh, fuck. We can remember the Z House, something that never would have happened if it wasn't for zombies. We can remember all those amazing experiences, those epic moments, the friends that were made, and smile. Oh no. Seriously, like, no video game has ever or will ever again change my life like Call of Duty Zombies did. It opened the door for just so many opportunities and experiences that I never could have imagined. My life would not even be close to the same if it wasn't for zombies. The amount of friends I have made through this community is just insane. To think about the amount of amazing friends I have made alone through this community makes it all worth it. And I know this is something that I've been out of for a while now, but this is something that's also weighed on me for a long time. And I kind of needed to say my own real goodbye. But more importantly, a thank you. A thank you to the fans and even Activision. But most importantly, to Treyarch, to all the developers who have worked tirelessly throughout the years, creating one of the best video game experiences of all time. Thank you. Jason, Kevin, Ali, all the rest of you, thank you. No matter what, Call of Duty Zombies was an incredible fucking ride, and I would not have traded it for anything. It's just truly something that is just, it's always gonna have a special spot in my heart. So, yeah. I know this was a really long video, but I kind of wanted to just do one final hurrah, something big, something crazy. If you made it all the way through this, you're an absolute legend. And yeah, so I guess that's it. Farewell to the Zombies crew. Farewell to the boys, the lads, every character that's been developed. I would have loved to see something a little bit better, but it doesn't matter. It was an amazing journey, and that's what it's all about. Thank you guys for watching, and stay zesty.